Dunchbags, what's going on? It's LandonRemixes here, and today I'll be continuing my year-end countdowns with my first ever top 10 tunes of the year video. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while as somebody who reviews electronic dance music, a genre that's largely fueled by its single releases. It only makes sense to do a video at the end of the year where I count down my favorite songs of the year, in a sense. Though I want to be completely transparent, this countdown isn't to talk about my favorite songs of the year necessarily, because there are a lot of songs that I give attention to and greatly enjoy that are found in the context of albums or EPs. So essentially this video exists to give you guys a kind of snapshot of what songs I've been listening to the most throughout 2019. They don't necessarily have to be a single per se, but maybe a song from an EP that I listen to a lot more than the rest of the songs, or out of context of the project more. Another way I could put it is that my top 10 tunes are going to be more festival oriented. You're going to find a lot more house and bass music in this list than you'd normally find me covering on my channel, so this video gives me an opportunity to shout those more festival oriented tunes. I really hope that all makes sense, because I honestly don't know how else I could possibly explain it. These aren't necessarily my 10 favorite songs of 2019, but they're 10 songs that I feel are particularly great on their own. So anyway, with all of that nonsense out of the way, let's dig in to my top 10 tunes of 2019. Shipwreck had flown under my radar for quite some time, which, if I'm being completely honest, I feel kind of ashamed about it. But to be completely fair, 2019 was definitely their breakout year, as they released a streak of massive singles and remixes. I really enjoy their kind of wacky, yet still danceable approach to house music, I guess more specifically bass house. For me, that sound shines best in Seoul, a song which is undoubtedly one of the coolest club-oriented tunes I've had the pleasure of listening to all year long, with its thumping bass, its hypnotizing vocals, and an absolutely infectious kind of like clicky descending lead in the drop that just pulls me in every single time. Just such a danceable tune. It's so wild and fun while also not going too far off the rails. Definitely reminds me a bit of some of Skrillex's more housey material like Chicken Soup or again Witta, but you know, Shipwreck take their own kind of spin on that sound and definitely do it justice in my opinion. To say that I'm excited to hear more stuff with this same spirit from Shipwreck in the future would definitely be an understatement. If you haven't given this one a full listen, definitely suggest you do. I've been keeping up with 13 for a couple years now, thanks to some really stellar collaborations with Rez like Drugs and The Crazy Ones, and fittingly enough I found Uppercut through Rez as well, as it was a key ID in her 2018 sets. I first heard it as one of the opening tracks in her EDC 2018 set, which I wasn't actually there for, mind you. I watched it on YouTube, but when I heard Uppercut, I was just absolutely blown away the first time, and you know, successive times. Being able to see her live last fall in Seattle was really huge, and being able to hear that song was definitely a highlight of the show for me. I was so freaking glad this tune finally got a proper release this year. It's just so groovy and unique. You don't hear a lot of, I guess, stuff in the mid-tempo sphere that sounds this distinct, and it's one of the tunes that's really made me appreciate what exactly 13 brings to the table as a producer. The sound design is super unique, and the way that the basses roll off of each other in the drop just makes my body want to move like nothing else. Honestly, even reminds me a bit of why I've come to love neurofunk and halftime and those types of music so much as of recently, except in the mid-tempo range. It's so cool. More than anything, I guess I was just glad to see this song finally get a release this year, and, you know, how could I not put it in my top 10 tunes?
Time to talk.
Gotta be honest, it was a really close call between this one and Face My Fears to end up in my top 10 tunes of the year, but ultimately had to go with Midnight Hour because it's just such a unique tune, like structure-wise and just the way that it's approached musically. Starting out with those dark and heavy piano chords accompanied by an emotional vocal performance from Ty Dolla $ign, and then seemingly out of nowhere breaking into this like bouncy house drop. The sampling of Act Up by City Girls is just perfect, adds a ton of flair to the drop, but it doesn't necessarily take away from the seriousness of the rest of the song. That whole back and forth flow that the song has is kind of weird and unconventional, but I feel like that doesn't necessarily take away from the song. In fact, I think it serves to make it all the more special. Maybe the song hasn't been out long enough for me to say this confidently, but I honestly think this is Skrillex and Boys Noise's best song together, if only it were released under their Dog Blood alias, but, you know, at the same time I can see why they didn't do it because the song had major hit potential. More than anything though, just a really fun club tune that manages to pack quite a bit of emotion into it as well. Definitely one worth checking out. Grizztronics is like the Damn by Joyride of 2019 with those little 2-bar fake-outs, except the song just constantly evolves and changes and moves in new directions every time you think it's going to get stale. It just gives you something new. The little breaks have kind of a minimal sound to them, but they're still super fun, and honestly this is like the most like fun and wobbly dubstep track I've heard in like eons. It seems like in the latter half of this year everyone has been playing out Grizztronics, and honestly it's understandable because it's just such a fun and lighthearted tune. It doesn't try to make itself a big like epic dubstep tune, it's just fun. Don't think I've actually gotten the chance to see a DJ play this one out this year, but judging by how much I enjoy it in my headphones, in my car, on my speakers, whatever, I can imagine that I would enjoy it quite a bit. And of course I think you guys would too, so if for some reason you haven't spun this one yet, absolutely suggest you do. Melodic rhythm has definitely been on the rise throughout 2019, and beyond my own client Ace Aura, Basic has been a massive key player in bringing this sound into the limelight, and while I've definitely enjoyed the stuff he's put out on his home label Audio, I gave his Subconscious EP an honorable mention in my top 10 EPs of the year list. His debut on Never Say Die Black label is just something else. Absolutely phenomenal groove and sound design, not quite like anything else that I've heard come out of that scene thus far. The chord-backed growls are fantastic, and I also just love the beep boop that just happens in between it all. I honestly can't tell you how many times I've just sat in my car jamming out to this song and just getting into the groove and the whole vibe of it. It's just so good. It's almost unexplainable. Such a jam. Definitely be keeping an eye out for some of these producers who have not only perfected their own unique sound design, but also know how to write compelling music behind it. It's a really great thing that I hope is going to take off next year. here, but in the meantime, definitely be giving Rhythmic Pulse a few spins. Crash and Burn is like pinnacle metal step. There's really no other way to describe this song. I had actually hoped to see Phase 1 work with Northlane since he sampled Refuge on Welcome to Mayhem, but this song was so much more than I ever could have imagined and might be his best song to date. It's just such a perfect blend of metal and bro step. You can tell both parties involved gave it their all when going into this song. The whole song just straight up gives me chills, especially in that initial fake out in the drop where the vocal and the bass are like perfectly synced up. If only the rest of Transcendency could have been as good as this song, I would have freaking adored that album, but you know, at least we got this song in the first place. You know, it's not very often when I'll say a progressive house tune slaps, but this song slaps. In my book, some of the absolute best work by both Deza and Julian Gray, and that's saying a lot, as a lot of you probably already know I'm a big fan of Julian's stuff. Honestly, if you were going to listen to just one progressive house song in all of 2019, I'd say make it this one, because it really, to me, does everything a progressive house song should do. Packs the emotion while not being overly cheesy, and it brings the energy without pushing into big room territory. In the drop, that layering of that kind of Swedish house influenced lead with that big synthwave influenced bass line is just phenomenal. Absolutely unforgettable tune in my book, and I've seen a lot of comparisons online of this song to The Veld by Deadmau5, which I'm honestly surprised I didn't notice the similarities between the two songs before I started reading those comments, because that's like my favorite Deadmau5 song. But honestly, the similarities aren't that striking. I didn't really even notice them all that bad until I heard the Farius remix of the song, which sounds even more like the Veld. Overall though, what a great tune. Honestly, one of my favorite progressive house songs in a while, and I definitely recommend giving it a spin.
Yo, listen.
This song is so insane. It's like everything that I love about Must Die's music, with those huge melodies and the crazy screechy sound design and the drops, plus a newfound influence of hardcore. Blows my socks off every single time I listen to it. I've pretty much got everything about this song like locked in my head at this point. Every single growl and squeal and everything in between completely memorized, to the point that I'm just like listening to it in my car, singing along to all the growls and everything like it's got lyrics, and I'm still like full stank face every time I listen through this song. It's just incredible. There's really not much more I can say about this song. It's just simply unbelievable. Gorgeous 6/8 time, melodic dubstep, synthwave, R&B, rock, alternative, and maybe even a little bit of future bass. Dissolved by Essinger is pretty much all of those things at the same time. By and large, my favorite tune that Essinger has put out thus far, and I really like his stuff, earnestly. How this song manages to cohesively do so many different things at the same time is honestly beyond me. It's really mind-blowing. Does a really great job of packing in that emotion and that nostalgia while also being a compelling piece of electronic music with really cool drops and unique sound design. It can be soft and ballad-like at times, but also heavy and impactful where it needs to be. It's just a fantastic tune. I honestly can't say I've heard anything quite like this, except for maybe Home by Dabin, which conveniently also features Essinger. I've thoroughly enjoyed blasting out my eardrums with this song throughout 2019, and yeah, I would definitely recommend you do the same. Maybe not quite blast your eardrums out, but definitely take some time to enjoy this song for what it is. You don't get songs like this very often. Dissolve is, by quite a long shot, my favorite single of 2019. My number one tune of the year is going to be one that I picked off of an EP, and honestly, the song was originally going to be my number one tune of the year, but I felt kind of weird considering most of this list is very EDM and festival centric, and Dissolve is not really quite that. It's not exactly EDM, but I definitely think Dissolve was worth a shout in this video. Would have just felt kind of weird putting it at number one. But with that being said, let's quickly go through some honorable mentions. And my number one tune of 2019 is Weeble Wobble is just unbelievable in like every regard. In its sound design, its groove, its creativity, its danceability. It is just such a fun track. I have honestly not heard a house song with this much spunk, flair, and creativity in years. The popularity that the song received this year is such great evidence that we really need more of the creative bass music producers to be making dance tracks. I've had the opportunity to see this song played out at several different DJ sets throughout 2019, and it always just hits all the right places. Eliminate, if you're watching this, please, for the love of God, give us some more house music. This stuff is so good. I need more of it in my ears as soon as possible. Let this also be a challenge to any bass music producers who might be watching this video. If you can make a song that's as fun and wild as Weeble Wobble, you might end up in this same position next year, because this is certainly one of the funnest dance tracks I've heard all year and maybe even ever. So yeah, great work, Eliminate. please give us more. And that is about going to do it for my top 10 tunes of 2019. Similarly with my Monster Cat countdown video, I'm going to be putting all my picks into a Spotify playlist, which you can listen to down in the description below. Down in the comment section below, feel free to let me know what your favorite tune or tunes of the year were. I would like to take a quick moment to shout out my sponsor, LandonRemixes. They make wonderful audio source separation tools that are absolutely invaluable for people like DJs and producers who are needing to separate audio at the source, whether it's for mashups, mixes, remixes, or just like cleaning up dialogue. Their tools are definitely super helpful. I've used specifically extract stems pretty frequently, so if that sounds like something you might use, be sure to consider hitting the sponsor link down in the description below and checking out some of their products. If you end up buying anything from them, I'll get a nice 10% kickback from it, which is, really the best way to support my channel at the moment. If you're new to the channel and want to see more content like this, make sure to consider hitting the subscribe button, and if you enjoyed the video, leave me a like. Anyway, I'm LandonRemixes, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.